الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين صدق الله العظيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Now with regards to wiping on the socks, there are a few issues that we need to delve into. So first of all, we know the baseline or the default position is that we should wash our feet. General position is we should wash our feet. The ayah that I recited from Quran, I'll show you in a minute. It just hints to the point that we should wash our feet. And then there are several narrations, hadith mutawatira, massively transmitted. More than 80 Sahaba mention about this, including all 10 Ashra Mubashira. There's a lot of, so this is Mutawatir Hadith. And that is why it is part of Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah that you have to wash your feet. It is actually, you can't reject it. The feet should be washed. Now, the only group of people who would say it otherwise is Ahl Tashayyu', Shia. They say you should wipe your feet. Normal, without having anything on. Normal feet, generally wipe it. And I will explain that why they come to that conclusion from one of the qira'at of Quran. The same ayah that I just recited, they would read it slightly differently. And that is a valid recitation, yet it is not to mean what they meant outwardly. So there's a leeway for that, to understand that way, but that's not the correct understanding. But we'll cover that in a minute. Now, what about if your feet should be washed? Then how can we get any other position? For example, wiping over the leather socks. And that's unanimous agreement of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that you can wipe over the leather socks. There's no disagreement on that. From all four schools, from Ghair Muqallidun, the Salafiyya, from all these different sects other than from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, all the different groups, subgroups, they all agree on that. Who disagree with that? Again, Ahl Tashayyu', they don't accept that. They say, no, you can't. And Mu'tazila. Mu'tazila are a group of people who just go by logic. For them, it's like, it doesn't make sense. Why are you wiping on this? You don't have to do anything if you don't want to do anything. So you can't do that. So they don't allow that. This is why this point of being able, it is mashru', it is permissible to wipe over the leather socks. It's sunnah actually of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, massively transmitted hadith. I just mentioned that was again about this actually. The 80 Sahaba narrated the hadith about wiping over the leather socks, including all Ashra Mubashira. This is written in your Aqidah book. The widely used Aqidah book is, which Aqidah book that we should all be reading, or we normally read, the whole Ummah agree on? Aqidah Tahawiyah. Al-Aqidatu Tahawiyah. Imam Tahawi, rahmatullah alayh, he wrote Aqidah book. Inshallah, we will go through that as well at some point in future. There are only some points that we need to go through quickly, and then it's obviously detailed discussion that we can maybe leave it, but at least we should know what is the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Islamic Aqidah plus Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah Aqidah. We should know that. And in that, you would find this point. And then we believe, and in the mashru'iyah, in the legal position of this, wiping over the leather socks, to distinguish us from the deviant groups like Ahl Tashayyu' and Mu'tazila. Now, there's so many prayers, especially in the winter, Dhuhr, Asr, and Maghrib, a big issue with regards to if you do not have any allowance, that's a problem. So wiping over the normal socks come as a point. point of necessity. There is a need for something so that people can benefit. And there is a principle in Sharia that whenever there's difficulty, ease must be brought in. Al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir. The hardship attracts and pulls the ease. Okay. And it's quite a common thing that everyone almost wear. In the winter season, no one goes out of their house, barring few maybe, but majority would have some socks on, normal socks. Would have been fantastic to have a bit of wiping on that and then done. So we tackle that as well. So the ayah that I recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you who believe, when you stand up for prayer, فَغْسِلُوا, wash your face, wujuhakum, wa aydiyakum, and your hands." And we've covered this ayat in wudu. Remember, 4 faraid of wudu come from this ayat. And your hands up to and on your hands up to and including the elbows. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, and do masah of your head. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, and wash your feet إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ, up to the ankles and including ankles. Now, if you look at that, أَرْجُلَكُمْ, أَرْجُلَكُمْ. If you say أَرْجُلَكُمْ, then it would go with فَغْسِلُوا verb. Wash your laser pointer. So فَغْسِلُوا, wash your feet. أَرْجُلَكُمْ, like وُجُوهَكُمْ, أَيْدِيَكُمْ. Remember that? Okay. So these 3 to be done with the objects. So what are the objects of فَغْسِلُوا? وُجُوهَكُمْ, أَيْدِيَكُمْ, and your أَرْجُلَكُمْ. But وَامْسَحُوا is another verb. That might take a position here. So وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, and do masha, wiping over the head. That's agreed upon. No one deferred. No. But وَامْسَحُوا بِأَرْجُلِكُمْ, if you say with ba, that ba is preposition. That ba could just, act on this as well. If it did, and there's a position for that, Shias take that. And there's ishad, Quranic recitation. Out of many recitations, different ways of reading, there is one reading. That is why you can't call them kafir based on this. Oh, they wipe on the normal socks, on the normal feet, so they go against Quran. No, you don't differ on this, because there is a possibility, although a misguidance and wrong understanding. Why that is my wrong understanding? You can't just go with Quran. You have to have hadith to back it up. What does hadith say? So the hadith would tell you that Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were on a journey, the Sahaba, and I mentioned it somewhere when we were talking about that wudu thing. Some certain Sahaba, they washed their feet, but they didn't do it properly. They were coming this way, and in the sunlight, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could see the shine there, the brightness. When you put water on a very dry skin, it gets a little dull. It was just shining because the whiteness was quite clear. The skin tag that come on top of that, a dried skin has a white thingy. And when you get the sunlight reflecting on that in a very hot country like Saudi Arabia or Medina in those days, you could see that shining. You could see from far, oh, it's dry. It's dry. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the top of his voice, being a little bit further away, he said, "Waylun lil aqabi minan nar." This is what he said. Woe be to those ankles, those heels. Aqab literally means heels. These heels, those heels from the hellfire. They're going to be in hellfire. So why would Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam give you a stern warning for not, when they were trying to wash it, but still couldn't wash, that bit was left, which means that you have to have that washed properly before you come for the prayer. This is how strict the warning was. And it's not one hadith. That Abu Hurairah reported the same thing. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As mentioned the same hadith, the strong hadith. Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, and that is why he said it is an obligation by the consensus. Okay, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wouldn't normally give you a firm warning, stern warning like this, if it was just a sunnah or okay, as opposed to a must. Because he was so kind and gentle, he would make things easy, rahmatul lil alameen. To the point they would say, if it was not that it would become difficult for you, I would have commanded you to have miswak before every prayer. And it would be difficult. No, let's not do it. If only I wanted to make it, regular, but I know it would be hard for you. So let me just not come for Taraweeh now. He didn't come for night prayer after 2 days in the Ramadan when he saw so many people coming. It will become fard upon me. So he didn't want to do it. He was so kind and merciful. When he's saying those harsh words, that there is something really of significance, very much of a importance. And so mutawatir hadith. That is why Hafiz ibn Hajar Asqalani rahmatullah alayhi considered to be the Imam Amirul Mu'mineen fil hadith. He's written this commentary in Sahih Bukhari called Fathul Bari, where he says that wudu, and in this, you have to have your feet washed. And he said it is very categorically mentioned by the companions, and that none of them differed on the fact that you have to have your, unanimously agreed on washing the feet for normal wudu. Normal wudu we're talking about, nothing on, just normal wudu. And we all do. So for Ahl Sunnah, it's easy. And in fact, you may be thinking why I'm even mentioning this. If you didn't know, the Shias do wipe on the normal feet without, any socks on. So obviously that is the reason for this discussion. Okay. Now, with regards to the mas'al al-khuffayn over leather socks, then there's difference of opinion from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah to the other group. And I mentioned which group doesn't accept it, Mu'tazila and Shia. So they do not allow wiping over the leather. So this is how you're changing Quran. You're changing Quran. So we say, no, we cannot change Quran obviously from 1 or 2 hadith, but mutawatir, massively transmitted hadith, 80 Sahaba. They can't all get it wrong. They can't all get it misunderstood. Na'udhu they can't concoct a lie. Even if you are from Ahlul Tashayyu, you think that Sahaba, na'udhu billah. And that's wrong understanding and clearly haram understanding. And even then, it is inconceivable that everyone just gathered together. Let's just make a lie, na'udhu billah. And they did in their own time. By the way, it wasn't all compiled within the lifetime of Rasulullah or the Sahaba. We just carried on and on and on. The actual compilation of there was many ahadith with people here and there, mostly in their memories, some written up as well during the time of Rasulullah. Yet the main bulk was written when Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz radiallahu ta'ala, he announced and he got it done at the official level from the government. So he got Ibn Shahab az-Zuhri and the likes, Sharahil and Abdullah Sharahil, and many other scholars. He got them all to work on this and get the ahadith of Rasulullah compiled together, gathered together, and he did. Amir Sharahil and many others. So, and they were in the last days. Some in this area, some in that, some in Basra, Kufa, Egypt. No WhatsApp to communicate to each other, nothing else like that. You think all of them just gathered together in their old age and then now they will concocted a lie? Astaghfirullah. You can't even imagine that 80 people here would gather together and concoct a lie. A big lie like this now. So that's a categorical statement. It's perfectly fine to follow. This is why Hasan al-Basri, the greatest of the Tabi'een, raised in the house of Sayyidah Salama radiallahu anha. I mentioned about him recently. So here I met 70 companions of Rasulullah who participated in the Battle of Badr, and they're all performing, all considered and performing wiping over the leather socks as a sunnah of Rasulullah. It's a Shari thing. It's perfectly fine. For us, it's perfectly fine. And the many report. Imam Abu Hanifa was very strict on this. So he would always be like, this is Quran. To change the import of Quran, the meaning of Quran, you have to have very much a strong evidence. So he did not accept that until quite late. He said, I was waiting and waiting and waiting till it became clear to me as a daylight that yes, now enough Sahaba have said it. That's strong enough. If only 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, he was not happy even with 15, 20, 30 when he got all those hadith and narrations. No. Still not enough. 13, maybe just go a bit more. And he kept going on and on. When he had enough, then he said, now I'm satisfied. We can allow it. So Imam Abu Hanifa had very strict view on that. Imam Abu Yusuf likewise said, perfectly fine. Mas'al al-khuffayn, khuf is leather socks. Khuffayn, 2 leather socks. Mas, wiping. So wiping over leather socks is considered part of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'at. And how many types of socks? There are different types of socks. One is khuffayn, leather socks. And there are 3 categories there. One is mujalladayn, a leather socks which is completely leather. It's called khuffayn. So that's the first one. Leather socks which is fully leather. That we normally wear. No one is wearing today, but normally we have that. Leather socks, yes? We come to that. We go through the ruling of that in a few minutes. Second is mujalladain, mujallad, the one that has jild. There's between 2 leathers, between 2 layers of leather. The rest is cotton or whatever. So the Quran is between 2 jild, top and bottom, paperback. So that the cardboard, whatever you put. So the leather at the top, leather at the bottom, and rest is cotton. That is mujallad, perfectly fine. Muna'al, only the bottom has the leather, rest is cloth. All of these are fine. You can wipe over any of those. But there's another category, is just jawrab, no leather at all. No leather at all. So does it attract the same ruling or not? That's important topic to know. Thin socks, not made of leather, neither having any qualities of leather, is thin, not thaqinain, not heavy, not very thick. If a thick leather has a quality of leather socks made of anything, then it's perfectly fine to wipe over that. Thick socks that has the qualities of leather socks, no disagreement, you can wipe on those. But thin socks, the one we normally wear, we come to those, qualities. What qualities are we looking at? Okay. Now, what are the conditions? The conditions based on Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, based on the practice of Sahaba, the scholars, the Imams, their job is to look at that and go back and infer the ruling, deduce the ruling by looking at whatever they've been doing. So they come up with the water should not penetrate, seep through it. That's the quality of a leather. Leather would not let anything go through it. It shouldn't be tied to keep it held up. It should be thick enough that it can hold itself. Normally if I take my socks off, it would just collapse. It would not be able, you may have rubber band on top of that, that's different. But without that, because it's so thin, it won't be able to hold itself. If it's thick enough, it would keep its turgor, its rigidity, its like, its state. It will stay like that. Even if it falls down, but it will stay erect, like in a shape. The shape is maintained. You understand that? That has to be done as well. That has to be there. Okay. Now, what about the normal socks? Obviously, for leather socks, you have massively transmitted hadith and agreement of all the fuqaha of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. All the Imams, 300 plus, they all agree that it is perfectly fine to wipe over the leather socks. So that is why we can bring about the change to the meaning of Quran, which was to wash your feet. You can bring about change in the meaning of Quran if the hadith is that strong that there's no doubt whatsoever. And there's no doubt with that many Sahaba. Is that clear? So leather socks, perfectly fine. Normal socks, do we have enough support for that? Let's look at the support. First of all, we have got a hadith from Bilal radiyallahu anhu, another hadith from Abu Musa Sha'ari radiyallahu anhu, and third hadith from Mughira bin Shu'bah. These are the 3 narrations. With regards to the hadith of Bilal radiyallahu anhu, it appeared in Mu'jam al-Saghir of Tabarani, and Muhaddisin discarded it, saying that's a weak hadith. Everyone accepted that this is not just Sahih, it's not even Mutawatir. Mutawatir is massively transmitted. Remember those 80 hadith, and they are Sahih hadith we're talking about. Not one Sahih hadith, all Sahih hadith. And when it's massively transmitted, it doesn't matter, whatever is the strength. We're talking about weak hadith. So this is weak hadith, you can't take that to change the Quranic meaning of washing the feet, or massively transmitted hadith of washing the feet. So that is agreed upon. This is, you have to change now the ruling from washing to wiping on the normal thin socks. Leather socks, you have fulfilled the criteria, off you go. You got immigration out. Now it comes jawrab. Jawrab is the non-leather socks, the normal socks that we wear. Put it on the condition. Could you allow or not allow? So the first hadith from Bilal radhiyallahu anhu, weak. You can't take that in matters of changing Quran or in Aqidah. Second, Abu Musa Ash'ari, again considered weak by Muhaddithin. So both of those are considered weak. There's one hadith which there's difference of opinion. Among the Muhaddithin, none, it's not that everyone agreed, but there's one Imam, and this is a great Imam, Imam Tirmidhi rahmatullah alayh, he considered it to be Hasan. This is the only hadith from Mughira bin Shu'bah. His hadith is considered by Imam Tirmidhi, who is one of the greatest of the Imams. He is a student of Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayh, his Sunan. He says the hadith is Hasan. Hasan is not Sahih of that, but slight weak, very mildly lower. So it's not weak. It is Sahih, but under Sahih. So the top is Sahih. Sahih is when all the 5 conditions generally are fulfilled. Okay. If the narrator is slightly weak in his memory, but okay, he's definitely narrated it properly, but he's not as sharp. He's not A+. He's maybe B grade, but still perfect. Can get the job and agreed upon. There's no problem with Hasan hadith is good hadith. He's not the most authentic hadith, but graded as Hasan means good hadith. Happy with that. So no problem. Not the Sahih, not the Mutawatir. Clearly not. There has to be massively transmitted for Mutawatir. Okay. So it is from the agreed upon or acceptable hadith, lower category, but still within the range of tick. So that's ticked. Hadith is Sahih according to, Hasan according to Imam Tirmidhi. But then, this is the hadith. And he said, Imam Tirmidhi, he's talking about his teacher Hannad, who said, and his another teacher, Mahmud ibn Ghailan, they both said, the teacher Waqi', he is narrating from Sufyan, more likely Sufyan al-Thawri. And then he narrated from Abu Qais, from Huzayl ibn Shirahbil, and he from Mughira bin Shu'bah. This is Mughira bin Shu'bah, the Sahabi of Rasulullah. He said, Rasulullah sallallahu did the wudu, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, wa masaha ala al-jawrabain, he did wipe on the leather, normal sock, jawrab, this socks, cotton socks, one na'alain, and the shoe. Na'alain is the sandals. So he did that on the wiping on the normal socks and the shoes, sandals. He was wearing that and he just wiped. Then قال Abu Isa Tirmidhi, Imam Tirmidhi's name, kunya, Abu Isa. So he said, هذا حديث حسن صحيح. For him, this hadith is Hasan Sahih. Okay, he is happy with this hadith. To him, the hadith is good. But some other Imams, more than one, disagreed with that. Imam Abu Dawud, another Imam, little senior to Imam Tirmidhi, again student of Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim, so great Imam. He said, Abu Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi he said this narration, and Abdurrahman should not narrate this hadith because the authentic famous narration from Mughira bin Shu'bah is that the Prophet ﷺ used to perform masa on khuffain. Now there are many hadiths from Mughira bin Shu'bah, and they all say that Rasulullah ﷺ wiped over leather socks. Mughira bin Shu'bah, I will come to that. He had different students. Certain students, only one student actually said it was jawrab. All the other students said it was leather socks. Afterwards, obviously, if they were all together in the same gathering, you could have asked, well, he's saying it was leather socks. Oh yeah, did I say jawrab? Oh, I meant leather socks. Oh no. Oh, don't you remember? They could have argued and clarified it. But unfortunately, on hindsight, they're all gone. The students in their own time said, oh, I got from my teacher this. All the other students, 9 are saying, no, but we got jawrab. No, they got leather socks and I got normal socks. Bit of conflict, isn't it? And that's on hindsight. When you look back and say, all the teachers, all the students, they're all sitting there, not together. They've got their books written and then they've just spread it wherever. So their students keep mentioning it. Then you look back to analyze it and say, oh, leather socks, leather socks, leather socks, leather socks, normal socks. And all the rest of the chain is perfectly fine. These imams are great. Everyone is perfect. So Imam Nasai then says, apart from Abu Qais, no one else, no, Abu Qais is the kunya of Abdul Rahman, else has narrated this hadith, and I don't know of any other narrator who supports this narration, although this, with certainty, Mughira ibn Shuba, radiallahu ta'ala, narration about Masa al-Khuffain is sahih. That is without doubt. Imam Nasai, another Imam, out of Sahih Sitta, 6 canonical collection, Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Abu Dawud, Imam Tirmizi, Imam Nasai, and Imam Ibn Majah. So the first 2, they don't mention anything, Bukhari and Muslim. So forget about them. They're the most authentic, obviously, but they don't mention much about that. These 2 do. Imam Abu Dawud here, Imam Tirmizi, and then in that order, due to strength. And then third is Imam al-Nasai. So he's saying it's okay, and these 2 say no, they're differed upon. So significant difference. Even then, Imam Muslim then, he commented on the hadith. Imam Bayhaqi, Imam Sufyan Thawri, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the teacher of all of those, Imam Bukhari's teacher, Imam Yahya ibn Ma'in, the teacher of Ali bin Madini, and others have declared this narration as weak in their collections as well. All of these Imam said, due to Abu Qais and Hudayl ibn Shurahbil being defective narrators, this chain they already declared weak because of these 2 people. Imam Nawawi rahmatullah, who commented on Sahih al-Muslim, he said, according to Nasb al-Raya, if all the muhaddithin who criticized this hadith as being weak were separate in their statement, if only there was one and they all were like separately saying it, even then they would be correct over the ruling of Imam Tirmizi. Means that all of the names that he mentioned at the top, I just mentioned, they're all teachers of Imam Tirmizi's teacher. Means that individually, each of them are higher in status and authority than Imam Tirmizi. Imam Tirmizi is great Imam, by the way, no doubt. But when it comes to his teacher and the teacher's teacher, I just mentioned the name, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Yahya ibn Ma'in, Muslim, Ali bin al-Madini, Imam Bayhaqi, Sufyan Thawri, all of them individually are higher than Imam Tirmidhi. And if you put them together, there's no way anyone can challenge them. I mean, if you put them together, they're even higher than Imam Bukhari. Forget about Imam Tirmidhi. Imam Tirmidhi's teacher, Imam Bukhari. Understand that the status of each of those are so high. This is Allama Nawawi saying. Okay? Therefore, the statement of Imam Tirmidhi, the hadith is Hasan and Sahih, is not acceptable. Imam Allama Nawawi's statement. Okay? But there's an issue. The hadith we accept, the hadith is weak. But what about Sahaba? There are certain narration, there are many narrations actually. Because in the current time, Salafis, those who call themselves Salafi in the sense that they follow the first 2 or 3 generations. That if you look at that, it has to be, so they say, so they have gathered all the evidences because they have now revised it in the last 150 years, nearly 200 years, in India and here. They say, and Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam Ibn Qayyim, they did it, and Ummah rejected them likewise. No, you can't do it. But now it's resurfaced in the last 100, 150 years. More so since the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, obviously they had a lot of petrol, all the literature in the world become like a predominant opinion or just most widely accepted opinion in all different languages. So that has created this idea, oh yes, and it is easy, by the way. Practically, it is definitely much easier. If it was, would have been fantastic. In fact, if it was just that you don't have to do wudu, would have been even easier, especially in the cold winter. You don't have to do wudu and you pray, would have been fantastic. But obviously, this is talking about prayer. Talking about prayer. So then they have come up with the names of Sahaba, and there are many Sahaba they have found out from different books. One narration here, one narration there, such and such Sheikh said so, and certain Imams say so, and they say so. How many Sahaba? It is not proven in any narration or practice of Sahaba that they wipe over thin socks. The word is used in certain narration, jawrab, jawrab. A famous Ahli Hadith alim, Allama Shamsul Haq, Sahab Azmi, Azim Abadi, sorry, not Azmi, he is not Salafi. Shamsul Haq, Azim Abadi Sahab, Rahmatullahi alayhi, passed away. He says, socks can be made of socks. He's talking jawrab. Jawrab can be made of leather, wool, cotton. Every one of them are called socks, jawrab. It is not permissible to wipe over any type of socks until it is not established that the Prophet ﷺ used to wipe over socks of wool. So that causes problem. So the word jawrab, what was Sahabas using and calling socks? Was it a fine socks like the one we are wearing here? Would they have a socks like that in the made of machine? Can you do a fine socks like that with your hand? Ever tried that? You think the Sahaba would have as sophisticated, fine, thin socks like this? Hand, woven socks. So that is why, so even if it is jawrab, well, what is jawrab by their standard? What was jawrab? It's important, isn't it? So then the hadith also said over the shoes, na'al as well. But remember, na'al is not, according to any imam, is okay to wipe over. You can do that as long as it's made of leather and covering your ankles. It's a long one. So then it's okay. Leather covering that, that's fine. And then it's leather socks anyway, or shoe, or whatever you want to call it. But how many shoes? There are certain shoes, long one, people have that as a fashion or whatever sometimes. It's not common one. Now the trouble is when you pray, would you pray in those shoes inside the masjid? Now we'll see what happened to you afterwards. You can go to your own masjid with open one. And it's perfectly fine to pray as long as there's nothing underneath. It's not unclean. But there's another problem with shoes though. When you go to sajda, you must be touching your toes to the ground. And if you don't have ground directly with the carpet or whatever, then you must be on something hard that you don't go any deeper than that. The problem with that is our shoes, the way they are made of very hard cotton, hard leather, they keep a small space there for the air and for the movement, a little movement, and they'll be very tight. So when you wear your shoes next time and try to put and see if your toes are in contact with the inner surface, that is in contact with the floor, your prayer mat, maybe hard push to do it. You won't find it. It doesn't happen because you're always that thingy that keep your toes up. And there's a good reason for that. Otherwise, you would have all sorts of diseases there. And uncomfortable, very discomforting. So what they do, so the best way for that is then to bend your toes when you are in sajda. And you just get your new leather shoes and bend it like this few times, then you would see what happened to that shoes. Obviously, you would lose that sheen, that beauty, that stiffness, that crack, a long line across, which happens subsequently in the few, maybe months or years' time. If you're happy to sacrifice that, by all means, wear those shoes and then bend it like this so that you have done the job. So it has to be fulfilling those conditions. Difficult. So why you want to go through all of those pain when you want to make things easy for you? The reason Rasulullah ﷺ wiped over shoes, there are a few reports about that, he already had the wudu. When you have wudu, you don't have to wipe it. He just did it because there was some dust or whatever. Clear it. We are in desert. If you wanted to, you could just do it. This is what the reason for this is. The Prophet ﷺ wiped over his shoes only when he already was in a state of wudu. He would perform a fresh wudu for every prayer. This is a sunnah and mustahab action. And because he was already in the state of wudu, instead of washing his feet, he would wipe over his shoes. The proof for this is in Sahih Ibn Khuzaymah, one of the collection of It is reported from Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu that he asked for a glass of water. He then performed wudu, a brief ablution of wudu, and wiped over the shoes. He then said, this is how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to perform his wudu when his wudu was not broken. Now, the Sahaba who wiped over the socks. So shoes is clear. I hope you wouldn't do it. Umar ibn Khattab, it's been mentioned that he wiped on the socks. Doesn't say leather socks, doesn't say khuf, jawrab even. Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Bara ibn Azib, Anas bin Malik, Abu Umam al-Bahili, Salim ibn Sa'ad, Amr ibn Hurayth, Abu Dawood. So that gives you strength. Maybe it's okay, isn't it? But again, the point that I already, Imam Abu Dawood brought this list in his book. And Imam Abu Dawud already rejected that hadith, by the way. Remember that. So then the explanation. The fuqaha, Imam Sahib himself and others, they would just come up with the explanation. What is the explanation for that? The explanation is this. Number one, jawrab is the word used. So what is jawrab? It could be fakhinain, which is the case. They were thick enough that would fulfill the quality of a leather socks, and that is by agreement okay to wipe over. What are the conditions? Number one, we will do in a minute. They should be able to walk in it 3 miles. It doesn't break non-stop. If you walk for 3 miles and it doesn't break, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't rupture. It doesn't gets whatever. Water doesn't seep through it. If you try to stretch it, you can't see through it. And it can hold, and obviously if it's thick enough, it will hold on. So what sort of socks are we talking about? Do you have those socks? No, you don't have those socks available today. The thick socks are not worn these days, because the whole idea is to give you a little warmth, but not a lot. So there could be jarmuk. Jarmuk is type of thick sock, very thick sock with a shoe type appearance of that, like a shoe. There could be mujalladain. Maybe they have leather at the bottom. Maybe they had muna'al. They got at the top and the bottom. Mujalladain or muna'al just at the bottom. So those are the possible explanation. Because when you have no hadith to back it up, except that one hadith, so Imam Tirmidhi considered okay, other Imam do not consider it okay, even if you take it Sahih hadith, that's what. So what? One hadith to change Quran, which says you should wipe or wash. What does it say? Wash. So you are taking that hadith mutawatira from Rasulullah, ijma of ummah, that you should wipe your socks. Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Sorry, wash your feet. So you're changing that washing to the normal socks. So you must have good enough evidence as you have for leather socks. Even if you have one hadith, 2 hadiths, that's fine. Out of 124,000 Sahaba, you have got 7 or 8 Sahaba, maybe 10 Sahaba. And we don't know what jawrab they were wearing them in those days. So default position is washing of the feet, established by Quran. A hadith mutawatira. The only exception it gives was for the leather socks. 3 narrations allowing wiping on the non-leather socks, but all are considered weak by muhaddithin. Even if you take one, they understand it to be thick, as the socks were not machine-made, thick, resembling leather socks, okay to wear for us, for everyone. Even if their sound, according to a few of the scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, Rahmatullah, Imam Ibn Qayyim, Imam Ibn Hazm, Maulana Maududi of Jamaat Islami, or Allama Nasiruddin Albani, the Salafi Sheikh, they consider, compared to them, they are minority. When you have all 4 Imams on the same side, all the 4 schools of 1400 years agree on this, that you can't wipe. Unless it's very thick, yes. Even if they were majority, it would have only been allowed at the most. Any of these Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, Imam Qayyim, Imam Hazm, Albani, Maududi, rahimahumullah alayhim ajma'in, do they say it's wajib to wipe on this socks? They only say it's permissible. Only permissible. Rest of the ummah is on this side. So would you take a risk like this for your prayer? You have to pray. And your prayer is not valid if your wudu is not done. Imagine, even for 1 second, 1% chance that all the ummah is right. And your opinion of wiping over the normal socks is valid because it suits you, or it is practical these days, very useful, obviously. And that is correct opinion, even if you believe that. If there was 1% chance that it may be wrong, should you be risking your prayer for 1%? Unless these imams say, those who say it is must, you can't wipe on the leather socks and you can't wash your feet. You have to wipe the normal socks. Then obviously you have to go by this or that. But that's not mutually exclusive. And don't say that it is difficult. And it is difficult, I know, but despite that, I'm not born and raised here. I only came 20 years ago, 21 years now. And I had never needed to wipe over my socks. Alhamdulillah, never missed my prayer despite being in medical job, not at the consultant level all the time, consultant only for 11 years. I was SHO, I was junior doctor trainee throughout until 2013 on call. And when you're on call, you just go up and down all the time, wherever, especially when you're medical registrar. Those who know it, they know it. So I hope that I can convince you that I was more busy than you guys were in those days when I was on call, running up and down. And I never needed to, even with the cardiac arrest. I can distinctly remember one situation where this cardiac arrest was just so tight that I just missed my asar on that day, and I prayed. As soon as I finished the prayer, within a minute, it was Maghrib. It's a makruh time. But it is permissible for someone in that situation. Only once. You're reviving someone from. So I always kept my wudu for that reason, because knew it could happen. You know it. You just keep it all the time. And then it dawned to me a little bit later that what I would advise you to do in a minute. And if you want to do it, still want to do it, I'm not convinced. Yeah, I just want to. For the retired people, what's your evidence? What's your excuse? No excuse, just fun, easy. So do the same for dunya. But when it comes to dunya, you should be okay with 2, 3, 4, 5. The 3-year-old, 4-year-old, you're waking them up in the morning and taking them to school. You say, oh, it's because whatever. It's not must, by the way, until they're in reception or in primary. 4, 5 years, 6 years. You can do at that. No, we're just 3 years so that they get into school, good school or that school. 11 plus, dying for that, day in, day out, taking the kids for SATs, for 11 plus, for this university and that university, keep going for a different exam to get the better. Why that? That's hardship. You're okay with the hardship for when it comes to dunya. But for deen, you are not. So what sort of sacrifice you're making for deen? Other than not committing harams, fornication, and not drinking alcohol and not liking pork, which you don't anyway. So what is your sacrifice? Oh, we don't have girlfriend. That's the only sacrifice you're making in the name of deen. Even if you had one, they would have kicked you out anyway, as your wives have done. So not a big deal. I wouldn't consider that's a big sacrifice compared to what Sahaba has done. So if you really even then quite keen, do it, but do on your own. Don't lead people in prayer, because then you are betraying the trust. Because if I, as Hanafi, ever find out that someone is leading, I have to repeat my prayer. You're causing me harm. And I would hold you accountable on the day of judgment. If someone who has done it, and I know that my prayer is not done, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the man who caused me this harm. He knew this, that he is leading majority of Hanafis in the masjid. If you live in a country where they're all non-Hanafis or Salafis, or they allow it, as I said, no, traditionally no scholars allow it. Now many people allow it. Now many people even allow interest-based transaction. They allow not covering your face for women, not even covering the headgear, and none of that is part of deen for those scholars. Many scholars are coming up with different positions. You can take whatever, but that is not the way, unsafe way. So practically, we should have something. So leave your home after performing ghusl or wudu. Maintain your wudu as much as possible for young people. Elderly, they can't do it. They have to go to urinate or whatever, or window, whatever. Seek permission to wash your feet at workplace. Maybe they would allow you a small place here and there. They do. They're quite generous, alhamdulillah. Good community here. If that's not possible, then use disabled toilet. Try there. get your own bottle, small bottle in your pocket. Summer comes, you all have your long metal bottle, fashion one, all the design on it, holding it, still carrying on for drinking water. You can't have a small plastic bottle in your pocket to just wash your feet. Go to the office and get water from there, buy a water bottle and then wash it, whatever you could do. If that is not possible, get the leather socks. This is what I did subsequently when I realized just dawned to me that is another possibility. Why? Because the leather socks with the shoes, it doesn't fit. It's very, very tight. So I got one size bigger than that, but that's still sitting with me. So a size bigger shoes. So mine is 8, 9 size shoes. Leather socks, perfect, no problem. That became so easy since then when that dawned to me. So exercise shoes. And get thick wipes, and they're available. The wiping socks are now available for the last 10 years or so. Azhar Academy, many other online wuzu socks are available. So they've got all the conditions of a leather socks, but they're socks. They're a little thick, expensive, about 20 pounds, 25 pounds. If you get it from some other part of the world, that would be cheaper. But here it is about that much. So, and if stuck and you don't have any choice, then take that position of wiping on the normal socks and pray there. But then when you come home, repeat that prayer. Because you know that you've done a very faulty, defective prayer, possibly not done it. Then do it. Repeat it. So then you would realize, what, let me just wear this leather sock rather than have to repeat it. The nafs would accept that very easily. So that is the whole discussion about it. And in the next few minutes, I will just show you what are the conditions, inshallah ta'ala, and then we'll finish it off. Is it the right one? Yeah. Yes. So the word khuffain is plural. Khuf is singular. Yeah? Footwear which is made of wool or cotton is called jawrab. That which has a leather sole and upper at the bottom and the below is called mujallad. We just done that. Only bottom is called muna'al. Footwear which is made of entirely of leather is called khuf. Okay, hence it is khuffain, 2 khufs. It is lawful for both men and women to do masa over the khuffain for minor impurity. Wudu. If the jawrab is neither mujallad nor muna'al and is made of thin substance, then it is unlawful to do masa upon it. This is Hanafi text now. If the khuffain are made of thick substance other than leather, irrespective of whether the soles are of leather or not, then it's okay. 7 conditions. Number 1, that they are worn after washing the feet, even though this be before completing the wudu. So you can just wash your feet and wear it. And then you could do rest of your wudu afterwards. But obviously you don't do that. You take ghusl. If you're already in the state of wudu, just wear it. And it should be in the state of wudu. As long as the wudu is completed before the occurrence of anything that invalidates the wudu. So you quite in emergency, getting late, bus, train, you just quickly wash your feet, put that on, and run. And before you break your wudu, make sure that you have done your wudu. Before you break your wudu, you must have done the rest of your face, masa of the head and arms. If you've done this 3, then you are in the state of wudu now. If you break your wudu now, then you have allowance for wiping over the leather socks. Okay, it must cover the ankle. You should be able to walk up to 3 miles. And each khuf must be free from tears, which is equivalent to the size of 3 smallest toes. If it's bigger than that, then you can't. It's a big hole, too much holes there. Multiple small tears here and there, if they put them together and it becomes 3 small toes, then you can't do it either. You should cling to the feet without needing to be tied up. Even if you tie afterward, but it can do that. It has the ability to do so because of thickness. Water should not reach the skin. It shouldn't seep through it. Okay. And you must at least the equivalent of the 3 of the smallest fingers of the hand from the front of the foot should exist, I'll come to that in a minute. If this amount is absent, then it is unlawful to do masa over the khuf, even though the heel of the foot exists. Like someone who has not got, they've got chopped foot, they can't do masa on that. So condition, I just made this trawl. So got T-R-A-W-L. The T, it should be transparent. Khuf must not be transparent. Tear, no tear bigger than 3 small toes. R, remain in position without being tied. Ankle, must cover feet up to ankles. And that's A. W, wudu and waterproof. Okay, should be in the state of wudu and must be waterproof. And L is, it should be leather, thick, strong material. Okay, she shouldn't tear for at least 3 miles. So I just remember that if you are appearing in the exam. Duration for the resident, 24 hours. And the time starts not when you've worn it, when you broke your wudu, after wearing it. If I did it now and I slept, so you can do it now and you slept. The minute you slept, your wudu is gone. So if you realize that I slept at 10 o'clock, so from 10 to next day, 10 p.m., I can wipe. So if it's very, very cold, icy condition, just put it at night time. But obviously you can't do it too long, because you can do it for 24 hours. But the problem is, like, it's so wet here, you can get what we call athlete foot infection because it gets so soggy. So make sure you keep it dry in between. So during the day, it's better to just keep it open after Fajr, and from Fajr to just, or if you feel, you can just wash in, at Zuhr time and go up to Isha. And then sleep, wake up, it's dry throughout the day until whatever, depending on how much you want to do. For the traveler, it is for 72 hours from the time that you've broken your wudu first time. So if you worn it after Fajr and you carried on until Isha, you can have 24 hours from Isha the next 24 hours, or 72 hours from that time when you first broke your wudu, not when you've done it. When you broke your wudu, your time starts already. You say, oh, I only I've done my wudu 6 hours later, it doesn't matter. The time starts when you broke your wudu. Okay. I'll just give the time. Yes, obviously, if you perform masa and then you decided to travel, the expiry period, within that 24 hours you travel, you can automatically go to 72 hours. You can't, you can't think, since I had 24-hour plan initially, now I'm traveling. No, it doesn't matter. It's changed before the end of time. You can continue. And reverse as well. You plan for 3 days and you came home before 3 days. Can't say, you can't continue. Automatically gone. Okay. How much? It is further to do wiping, at least 3 smallest fingers. So the sunnah is to do it like this, going up just once. Okay, don't wash it with your hand. Some people wipe, they wipe, but they try to just make sure that everything is just being covered with that. Wipe. So wash your hand, let the water drop, and then from finger up this way. That's it. Once.
Right foot and left foot, can you still
Both
at the same time?
Yes, you can, but obviously they have to wash again.
Right hand or left hand?
Right for this one, left for that one. Both fine. Easy, both ways okay. I mean, you can just do left for left, right for right. Okay. And that's a fiqh issue there. If you have a bandage already, you've got a bandage on the foot, for whatever trauma or skin break, whatever you have. So you have to do masa over the bandage, because you have to do masa. You just wash it and you do masa on that. No talking, stay quiet. The masa must be performed over the area of khuf wherein the foot lies. The masa of one wearing a long, very long, wide khuf is performed over that area beneath which there is no foot, should not suffice. So like, that doesn't count. So if you're just done a small baby, not a small baby, someone with a small foot, worn size 10, so the area which is outside of the toes in front, and they just wiped on that, obviously wouldn't be count. Common sense. You should just go on where the toes are. What would nullify your masa? Everything that nullifies wudu nullifies your masa. You have to redo. If you remove khuf at any time, it's gone. Majority of the khuf is out, then it's out. You know, if the majority of the foot is out of that khuf, then it's gone. And if the water reaches inside any one of the 2 feet, then it's gone. Either this or that. A lot of water gone in. Majority of the foot is now wet. Either the water seeps through it or whichever way. Or expiry comes, then it's gone as well. Okay. Then once that happens, you can just wash your feet for all of 3, other than wudu broken due to wind pass. If the shoes has been taken off or just got like whatever, just water seep through, you just wash your feet. You're still in the state of wudu because the rest of your wudu is still intact. Turban, hand gloves, and veil, you can't wipe on that. Let's leave that because just talking about Jabir and stuff. I don't want to cover that now because that'd be too long. I've already taken extra time from your time. Apologies for that. The reason for that was because of the common issue, practical issue. May Allah make it easy, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.